Welcome to True Wellness with Dr. D, the podcast where we explore what it takes to live with vitality, balance, and purpose. I am Dr. D, and each week I'll bring you powerful tools, inspiring stories, and expert insights to help you thrive in every area of your life. From health and wellness to mindset and navigating life's challenges, this podcast is your guide to creating a life of true well-being. Be sure to check the show notes and grab your free copy of the True Wellness Checklist so you can get started on your journey to true wellness right away. Now, let's get started. Okay, what if the secret to transforming your life physically, mentally, and emotionally wasn't motivation, but just doing the hard thing every damn day? Today's guest didn't just survive rock bottom, he built a movement from it. Jon Kirby went from burnout to breakthrough, and now he's on a mission to help you command your life like a pilot under pressure. So let's get ready to redefine discipline, grit, and what's truly possible when you commit to showing up daily, no matter what. Welcome, Jon. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. This is great.
Well, it's funny, right? So you guys, I'll just tell you how this idea of getting Jon on the show came about, and then I'll share with you a little bit about his background and stuff. But you know, I know Jon as a friend through friendly circles, and I started to notice that as I'm going through my social media scrolls, every day he's posting himself doing some sort of physical activity, right? And that's, people do that. But the thing that caught me is he's like on day, you're going to have to fill me in here on what day you're at now, but it's like 600 and something out of 1,000. And that, of course, raised all sorts of questions in my mind. And then I keep seeing them over and over and over. And I'm like, wow, like, look at that. No matter what, he's showing up and doing this every single day and using social media for that accountability piece. Right now, everyone's expecting it for the last 633 days. It's pretty awesome. You got all these people rooting for you. But I was just, Jon, I was like, this is incredible. We've got to talk about this.
Absolutely. No, this is something that I never really imagined when I first started doing this. And there's a whole backstory to what led to this. But when I started this, it was initially a 60-day challenge. And I got to 60 days, and the whole goal was to reach day 60 at my son's Marine boot camp graduation. And I did. I got there. And so the next day I was like, let's keep going. And so I went to 90 days. And then I said, I'll go to the end of the year. And then it was to 366 days because it was a leap year. So I went ahead and added an extra day. And then when I hit 366, I was like, you know what? Why not 1,000? Why not just go and see what happens?
I love it. It's like, it's not quitting. It's funny. You think about people and they go on diets and then they like hit their goal and they're like, I'm done. And then they're like back at Dunkin' Donuts or, whatever the heck. And they get frustrated because the weight doesn't stay off. But you're like, you hit that goal and you're like, nope, I'm going to keep going. Mm-hmm. And that's really what we want for people too. When they're making dietary changes, we want them to stick with them for the long haul.
Absolutely.
So you guys, Jon Kirby here, he is a coach, a speaker, and he is the founder of the Every Damn Day movement, which is now really is part of the Command Your Life program, which is a program built on real aviation principles that helps people lead under pressure, communicate with clarity, and really reprioritize with precision. And after hitting rock bottom in 2018, Jon launched his, personal fitness challenge, like he shared, and he completed 2 full years of consistent training, working out 5 days a week, right? That was 5 days a week, that one.
Yeah, right.
And that challenge became the catalyst for a complete life transformation, physical, mental, emotional. And then in 2023, he reignited that fire with a new goal. That's 1,000 days of fitness. So 7 days a week. And I think the beauty is his story isn't just about physical change, right? It's about discipline, grit, emotional resilience. And and the power of showing up every single day. And I mean, Jon, tell us the secret to that, because we all know what it's like to start something. And most people will start things, they'll go for a little while, and then they'll stop. And you are still showing up every damn day.
Yeah. So I feel like I have to give a backstory on this because I have to explain where this came about. Where did every damn day come from? And it's kind of funny how it did, but it goes back to really, when I was a kid, I made a decision about 14. I was going to go into the computer field. That's what I decided I was going to do. And I went to college. I got my bachelor's degree. I got my master's degree.
Yeah.
And I started getting those jobs that I really wanted, and I finally got my I got my what was it? My dream job. I got my dream job, and in 2009, I was told I was getting laid off.
Mm,
And when that I had never experienced a layoff before,
yeah.
and it hit hard. It hit really hard, and I had a lot of other outside things happening at that time,
Wow.
and I decided one day in November of 2009 to go for lunch. Such a low spot that I came across a bridge. And I went and I stood on that bridge and I got to the edge and I started looking at it and going, is this high enough for me to jump? Is this high enough for me to end it? And
Yeah.
I thought about it. And what pulled me away was thinking about my three kids at the time. I had three at that point. And I realized that they deserve to have a dad in their life. And I did not want to leave them without one. So I stepped away. But here's the thing. I spent the next 9 years self-sabotaging and doing everything I can to just make things difficult. And I was just failing left and right and left and right. And I changed jobs like every 6 months to 9 months. And I think I had about 5 different jobs in about 5 years. And I finally said I was done with IT altogether. And I jumped to real estate. No experience, no leads, no money in the bank either. And what happened? I fell on my face. Bam.
Yeah.
And so for a second time, I'm facing bankruptcy, I'm facing failure, and I was thinking about ending my life again. Here I am again. I got 5 kids this time. So I'm just at the edge. And so my friend Jeremy knew me pretty well, and he knew he needed to break the pattern, the thought pattern, because I was just stuck. I was just doing the
Sure.
same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So he finally gave me a challenge. And this was back in, I think, December of 2018 when he did this. And
Uh-huh.
he came to me and he said, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to go and you're going to take your gym card and you're going to go to the gym and you're just going to scan it. Just walk in the door, scan his gym card, and he adds every damn day.
Right.
And that was all I had to do was just walk in the door and scan the card. He didn't care if I worked out. He said, just get out of bed, just go and scan the gym card.
Perfect.
Now when I went, I was like, I'm here. I'm going to do something. So I started walking on the treadmill and I started to get more active and I started doing that. And as time went on, after a month, I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little better about things. I get a little more, and at this point I'm unemployed. I don't have a job. So I have nothing going for me. I am still rock bottom, approaching bankruptcy, in bad shape. After about 3 months of doing this, I finally landed a job. And after about 6 months, I was really starting to get a different mindset, and I was starting to see a difference in how my life was going. It wasn't just the physical improvements I was feeling. I was starting to gain a need to work on my mindset, to work on my spiritual sense, my emotions, all of these things. And I joined a pod group. I actually joined Ben Hardy's program that he had. It's called Accelerated Momentum Program, I think is what it was called. And I joined that for several years, but that being a part of that inspired me to want to read more books, want to journal, it just started to become a domino effect. Things just started flowing. And I did that for 2 years. And then I stopped, but I stopped because I was like, okay, well, I kept going to the gym, but I didn't stick with 5 days a week. I kind of dialed it back.
Right.
My dad was ill at the time and he was dying. And so I spent 6 months taking care of him. So that kind of took priority, but
Yeah.
that 2 years prepped me for that and got me ready to be able to handle that issue.
Thank
And,
God.
and so that's how the initial every damn day started. And the second one came about because I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes like a month before my son was heading off to boot camp. And I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to do a challenge and I'm going to see if I can catch up to him because he's going to be in great shape. He's going to be fit. He's going to be awesome. And I was like, well, why don't I go ahead and see if I can catch up to him? No, I didn't catch up to him. Nowhere. I mean, he was a skinny beanpole when I saw him at graduation. So I still had work to do, but I felt good about my progress at that point and just kept going. So it really is all about mindset. And that mindset has changed me as an individual where I no longer have a lack of hope. I have a lot more gratitude. I have a lot more purpose. And one of the things in my purpose is to help others who may be in the same situation I was to find ways to better their life and to avoid those pitfalls and look at life in a different way.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Dr. D. I just wanted to remind you that you can get started on your true wellness journey. Go ahead and check the show notes and grab a link to the True Wellness Checklist. Now, let's get back to the episode. Right. Gosh, I just love your story and I love your journey. And what stands out to me, Jon, is you didn't wait for someone else to come and do something for you. You just started to show up for yourself and then be really consistent in that showing up for yourself no matter what. Right. And that takes a lot of courage, right? Sometimes it takes a lot of courage to get away from that voice in the back of your head that's like, oh, you can just take a day off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it did take, Jeremy, you had Jeremy on your podcast as well. And it did take him kicking me in the tail. He definitely was like, get out there and do something, but he didn't do the work. I still had to show up. I could have ignored him. I could have said, I'm not going to do that, but he was my accountability. And because he kept me accountable, I'd have to send him a picture of myself at the gym every day. That was what I had to do. Every single day I had to set, and he said, you have to smile too. So after a while, I wasn't smiling now you got to smile when you send me the picture. So I started doing that.
He slowly crept you up the ladder there, which is really powerful, because sometimes we can't start with everything all in, right? In other words, you're not going to just show up at the gym and all of a sudden be bench pressing some crazy amount or running 5 miles at a clip. Like it doesn't work that way. It starts with those small steps and being really, really consistent with those small steps and showing up for yourself.
Right. And that's what I talk about. And my favorite saying that I have, consistency is undefeated, because it's true, because it doesn't have to be this huge win every single day. In fact, a small win is better because they compound. It's like compound interest. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more you do it. And part of the reason I did the 1,000-day challenge wasn't so much to prove anything. It was an experiment. Okay, so what I noticed, things were changing even more so from when I did my first 2-year challenge. There were things that were changing even more about me in just the first 90 days and then 366 days. I was like, what's this going to look like at 1,000? So it's more of an experiment. Who am I going to be? I used to tell people when I finished the first 2 years, I was Jon Kirby 2.0, version 2.0. I think I want to say I'm on version 4 now. Maybe we're up to 4.5. I don't know. I'm being an IT guy. I like to think in those terms. So
yeah, well, you know what? I like what you said. It's who am I going to be? Because the truth is, until we actually invest ourselves in a commitment, like all the way through, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know who we're going to be. And I think as human beings, we so often give up on ourselves and so often quit on ourselves that we can fall into that pattern. But if we just do something different and move in a different path and keep going down that path, then you're right. Who are we going to, we don't know who we're going to be. That's the really cool part.
Yeah. And the thing about all this is a lot of people feel that what they need is motivation to be able to get started.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't work that way. Motivation doesn't get you out the door. What gets you out the door is just simple action. You just have to just say, make the decision and do it. That's where discipline comes in. And that's one of the things I talk very heavily about is discipline. And discipline is built by action, not motivation.
Wait, we're not born with discipline?
Exactly. No, that is something that is earned. It's not something that's given. You have to earn discipline. And that's something I never learned until I did the first round of Every Damn Day. It requires you, like, for example, I had a conversation with one of my kids, and we were talking about turning off the internet overnight for something. I don't remember what it was. But anyway, I use my Alexa to wake me up in the morning because it's across the room. I don't use my phone because I could very easily hit snooze. Now, I could always yell snooze, but my wife is sitting next to me, and so she's going to hold me accountable. But I don't say snooze. So as soon as that alarm goes off, I get up and I'm out of bed immediately. Yeah. There's no waiting. There's no, it's the decision's made. I'm out. And that's discipline. And that takes time. I didn't do that on day one, especially with the first challenge. In fact, I remember when Jeremy told me to go scan the gym card, my initial response was, what the heck is this supposed to do? What, show up, scan my card and leave? What's the point? Now, it was to break the pattern of what I was doing. But on top of that, it was to build some discipline, get up, go and do it. And at that time, I was not solid on the times I would go. Now I'm rigid. I have a routine and I follow it. And if I don't follow the routine, I'm out of schedule for the day. It messes me up.
What if you're on vacation or it's someone's birthday or it's raining outside or
I find a way. So if it's raining, my solution, I bought a walking pad.
There you go.
So if I can't go to the gym or if it's not my gym day. So usually on the weekends, I try to run. I was going to the gym on Saturdays, but Sundays, it's always a walk. I always walk on Sundays. But if it's raining, I've got a walking pad inside. So I have a backup plan. But if you're right, recently I had to do a trip up to Colorado. I was there for about 4 or 5 days and there was no gym for me to go to. So I was doing walking. So I do a long walk. And in fact, it got really cold one day. I couldn't even go out and walk. So I did my warm-up routine, which was, doing cat-cows and doing stretches and push-ups. And so I did that in the house on that day. And in fact, I even did a reel on that. I posted that up there. So I did this because I couldn't go outside. It was too cold to go do anything. I found another way. I don't make excuses. Excuses don't work when it comes to trying to build discipline. They don't exist.
Yeah, they're like lame lies, right?
You have to be honest with yourself. And that's the first thing in all of this is you have to trust yourself. You have to build a relationship with yourself to be able to go, I am not that person. I am not, and that's what I've told myself all these years. I am no longer the old Jon. I am not Jon version 1.0 anymore. And I was Jon version 1.0 for 47 years. Didn't go anywhere. And now I'm not 2.0 anymore. I'm not 3.0. I'm somebody new. And I don't do that. And that's what I tell myself. I don't do those things. I don't make excuses.
I love that. And it's funny. It's, you've built this all up by just doing this simple task, just starting with swiping your card. It reminds me of the Karate Kid, right? Where Mr. Miyagi's having him do all these random things like paint the fence and
wax on, wax off. Exactly.
Yeah,
Why?
It was about just consistently building in that pattern. And then lo and behold, Karate Kid became version 2 of himself then.
Exactly. And that consistency adds up. And the consistency that I've learned for myself, um, if I'm not consistently showing up, the guilt would eat me alive. It would just tear me apart because there are days when I get sick, and if I get sick, I'm like, oh, this is going to be so hard. I don't feel up for what. I still walk out that door. It might be a shorter walk, but I'm a little slower because I'm not at full pace.
Yeah.
But that guilt of going, I'm going to break it. I'm going to break it. I'm like, no, that's not who I am. The consistency must continue because there's dividends at the end of this that are going to come back. And that's how it works.
I love that. So talk to me about, I think a lot of our listeners, I mean, just anybody as human beings, we do get to that place where it's like, oh, I'm sick. Like, I'm not going to go. How do you coach yourself into moving beyond those excuses and stepping forward with what you said your commitment was?
This is where the first round of the 2-year Every Damn Day came into play, because a lot of it was physical, getting the physical fitness going again and getting those juices started to be able to do that. But by doing those first few months of showing up at the gym and doing that, it started things in the mind. And what I learned eventually, because what I dealt with for many years was negative thoughts. Just they consume you. And what ends up happening, what helps create those excuses, is you're fighting a battle in your own head with yourself.
Yes.
I can't tell you how long I was fighting. And I still, every now and then, I like to call him the shadow.
Yeah.
He's there, but he's in the background and you can't really see him. And he'll tell you something. I told you, don't do that.
Yep.
And I'm like, go away. But I couldn't get rid of that, which is what led me to looking at jumping off of a bridge or taking my life 2 times. I mean, that voice was there, was just nagging me. And so what has to happen is it's one of the things that I like to talk about in an IT perspective. You have to build firewalls. You have to be able to stop the negative thoughts and the negative influences from coming in and attacking you here. This is so important right here. This is actually the key to all of it. It's the mindset.
Yes.
And if you can keep out and allow the good things in, I like to talk about how you have, you're the average of the 5 people that you're around. And I think that is so important. And in fact, I talk about this a little bit on my reel today that I put out, where if you're growing and you're improving yourself, you're going to end up leaving some people behind, not because you're better than them, but because you're improving yourself. And those people got used to the version of you that was not growing, that was at that standard. And they're not wanting to keep up. They're not interested in doing that. And that's how those circles that you have around you, they change and they improve. And I like to have people around me who are always looking to improve upon themselves, because it affects my mindset. And that's the key, is putting in the good, positive thinking and gratitude around you. So it's all mindset that leads to this. And it's not just showing up at the gym. It's also showing up for yourself in your mind.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about mindset, because it's one of the foundational things that is always incorporated with the work that I do, because I'm working with people's diet, I'm working with their nutrition, I'm helping them, deal with chronic illnesses or hormone imbalances or what have you. And people are so used to, like, here's the pill or here's the whatever, and off you go. And I'm always like, but here's the thing. Right? You can do something for only so long. If you haven't addressed the mindset, you self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And I'll give you another example on that, because before I started this challenge, I weighed 260 pounds. That was the heaviest I had ever been. And that was when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes at that point, which is what fired off the 1,000-day challenge. I was like, I've got to get out of this mess. I can't do this. And while working out is part of it, you got to fix it in the kitchen too. And
Yes.
that's mindset. And for the longest time, I would comfort eat. Depression would cause me to comfort eat. And those habits stuck with me. Even when I got my depression under control, those habits stayed with me. So I've had to change the mindset. And now I'm down to 212. And so my goal is 185. And that's very doable because I've changed how I eat, and I've changed what I select for my foods.
Right.
So again, it's all mindset. I am actually okay with bland and not sweet foods now. In fact, sugary items, I'll look at that and I'll go, I don't want that anymore.
Right.
I've really changed the mindset. I'm like, that's not appealing. I'll have a piece of chocolate cake for like my birthday or someone else's birthday, and I can't finish it. I used to I could eat a whole cake long ago. I can't do that now.
Yeah, our perspective really matters. I remember, when I was going through my own personal journey and changing my eating habits, because I grew up like everybody else. My mom worked at McDonald's at one point, McDonald's and Carvel. It was like the thing, and I remember my kids were really young, and my mom would come over and I'd be like, no, that's poison. And my mother's like, that's not poison. You're going to, they're not going to know the difference between real poison. And I'm like, but that is real poison. It might not kill you instantaneously, but over time, that thing is going to kill you.
My wife bakes a lot. And my friends, they look at me and they go, and they'll have her food and they'll taste it and it's really good. And they'll ask me, how is it that you're as skinny as you are? And I'm not really skinny. I say, yeah, you should be 400 pounds. And they're not wrong. I was able to keep it down to at least a 260.
Yeah. Yeah. So so going back, right? Like taking a look at who you are today and the journey that you've come. If you were looking back at your younger self who was just beginning on this journey, what would you say to him?
What I would say is get up and take action. Don't wait. Don't wait for someone else to come save you, because they're not.
Yeah.
It's not up to someone else. And that was one of the things that when I was dealing with all the things I was dealing with, I was waiting for someone else to come save me. And nobody's coming to save you. You have to take the action to actually, if you are not happy with where things are in your life, don't wait for someone else. They're not going to show up.
Yeah.
You have to decide, today's the day. I'm going to move. Today I'm going to read. Today I'm going to journal. Today I'm going to do something better than what I've done before. And it doesn't have to be huge. It can be small. Like I said, those small wins add up. Write something in a journal. Get some of your feelings out on a piece of paper that can help you process. What I found interesting is I started trying to write a book about my life a while ago. And I'm not going to publish it at this point. I've decided I don't like it. But by doing that process, it helped me process all the things I dealt with as a child. And now I'm like, okay, I don't think about it anymore. All these little actions. And I worked on that for several months, and It was great therapy, but it was action. It was action, taking action. I had friends telling me, well, you don't want to write. Why are you writing a book? You don't have anything that's great to write about. And so I was telling them, no, I do. And eventually when I wrote the book, I was like, this isn't very good. I need to change. I need another perspective. But it helped. It worked. And that action actually helped me process something that I needed to process. But it's action. You cannot wait. If you are at a point where you're just frustrated as all get out, just get up and go do something. Just break the habit. Tony Robbins talks about this. Just break the pattern. Do something different and you'll see a difference.
I love that. It's true, right? Because if we do the same thing all the time in the exact same way, we are just running the same script over and over and over and over again.
It's the Einstein theory.
Yeah. And our brain can't, like, it'll just keep running it. It's like rote. You've memorized it. It's just going to keep on going. And when we change it, it does. I mean, it gets a little uncomfortable, right? That's why people go back to their old ways, because the new way gets a little uncomfortable for a period of time until it becomes that new paved pathway.
I'd rather be uncomfortable and growing rather than comfortable and stuck.
Yeah.
That's what I was putting out today on my reel.
I love that.
That's the thing that was me. I was stuck.
Yes.
And like I talked about, I was wanting other people to come save me. I was wanting jobs to land in my lap, and I hadn't earned them. I hadn't done the work. I wanted things to land I wanted to win the lottery. I wanted that to land in my lap. These things don't happen. And of course, you can't actually work and win the lottery, but all the other things in your life can improve if you take action. That's the key.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a very strong point. And I'm just thinking about, like, some of the people that I know in my life, and some of our clients. And sometimes there's, there's a bit of, I would say, perfectionism that can stand in the way from just starting to take action. Like, well, if I go to the gym, how do I know that I'm doing it correctly? And so maybe I shouldn't go because I don't know if I'm doing it correctly, and I see it with clients all the time. Like, they get nervous about their diet or their supplement regimen or something. And it's like, well, you just take that step, and if you mess up or something happens, we just go ahead and redo it. Right. But if you never take the step, then you don't go anywhere.
I have clients that I've worked with where I've been trying to coach them. And one of the things I try to tell them is get out and be physical, because the physical activity, it helps the mind start thinking. And I'll some of them are struggling to be able to buy food. And I'm like, well, get out and just walk. You don't have to do anything elaborate. And they'll make an excuse of, well, if I walk, then that means I'm going to get hungrier and I'm going to go buy more food. And I was like, deal with it. You have to learn to deal with it. And it's those tough things so you're going to lose some weight. Great. That's what it comes down to. You won't be eating the garbage that you might be eating, but you'll now be taking better care of yourself, and your longevity is going to be there. I can't do pull-ups right now. That's one of the things that I'm so embarrassed about. And I decided that the next 3 months, I'm going to work on trying to do 2 pull-ups. That's one of my goals now for the next few months. And so yesterday it was working on back, and I used the assisted pull-up machine. That was embarrassing. I'm 53 years old and I can't do a pull-up. Now, there's a lot of 53-year-old men who can't do pull-ups. I get it, but I'm in pretty good shape at this point in my life compared to where I was. I should be able to do that. I'm at the gym. I got these people around me. Thankfully, most of these people are non-judgmental. They don't care. Yes. But here I am. I'm filming it for my reel. And I'm like, well, that's embarrassing. I don't care. Yeah. I don't care, because I did it, and I know it's going to lead to more improvement if I just keep doing it. And then I'm going to reach my goal. I have the mindset, again, is what it comes down to.
Yeah. And that's courage too, right? Like, we often live our lives imagining what other people are thinking. And most of the time people could care less, right? I know today with social media and that, people they're rude and disrespectful.
Yes. There's a lot of that out there.
And you wonder where it comes from. A lot of the times I think it comes from the insecurity. It's kind of like what they would be saying to themselves or saying out loud, when the truth is, like, we need to be each other's cheerleaders in life. And it sounds like you've got your mindset to the space where you are your cheerleader. You're like, all right, Jon, well, maybe it's a little embarrassing, but you know what? The prize at the end of this journey is magnificent. So let's just go ahead and do it. And that's beautiful.
Yeah, we all have a desire to be better people. And one of the things that I did early on in my challenge for the 1,000 days, which at the time that was the 60-day challenge, I actually went and did a savage race. It's kind of like a mud run. And I did things, if I had done that 5 years prior, even 2 or 3 years prior, I would have been embarrassed by how I've done. There are some high obstacles that I would have just said, nope, not me, not doing it. I can't handle that. I think I did all but two, and the two I couldn't do were like pull-up ones. I couldn't do those because I could not pull myself up. And there was one that was broken. So I couldn't do it because it was broken. But there was a really high, I want to say it was like 25, 30 feet in the air. There's a net on both sides. You have to crawl up. I didn't hesitate. I just said, all right, I'm doing this. And I crawl up. I'm afraid of heights. The funny thing is, I'm in a business with Jeremy, and he's a pilot, and I'm afraid of heights. and I do this thing, and I was like, nope, I'm going up and I'm going down. And Jeremy was with me when I did this, and he just assumed that it was a no big thing. And I told him, I'm afraid of heights, and he goes, really? I'm like, yes. And you did that? I'm like, yes, I did, because I have a new mindset now. I can do things I couldn't do before.
Right. And that's, we weren't born knowing how to walk, right? We weren't born knowing the things that we know now. At some point, we were always in a beginner state of something, and when we stop being okay with being in a beginner state, then we stop growing.
Yes. And that's exactly it. And that was my life for 47 years. I unfortunately, I dealt with, parents that were not very supportive of me, in a mindset. And I was very abused and emotionally abused as a child. There's a whole story there, which is part of the reason why I do some of the things I'm doing now to help support young men and such. That I want to say really broke me for most of my life, because I had a terrible mindset about myself.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of work to reprogram myself, and it was doing it myself. Now, I had counselors helping me out at first, and great friends that were there to support me, but the work had to be me. I had to put in the effort, and it meant putting in whatever discipline needed to be done to see those changes happen. And in order to start walking from crawling, you got to start somewhere. And if you keep waiting, it'll never happen. Nobody's going to pick you up and help you walk your whole life. They might at first, but they're not going to do it for you your whole life.
Yeah. Well, what I hear you saying is really it started with a decision. It started with a decision and a choice that this is no longer acceptable, and I'm going to make this change. Yeah. And then fighting through the little, I call them the gremlin voices, but fighting through the gremlin voices when they're like, oh, it's time to quit, or you're not good enough, or whatever it is, right? That's embarrassing. You just said, hey, little voice, thank you. I'm good. I'm going to keep moving.
What's amazing is that little voice, it's like down the block for me. Every now and then it shows up.
Sure. We're human.
Come ring the doorbell and say, hey, I'm here to pest you. But it used to be, he lived in my head all the time. Right. And by putting in this work and the wins, the confidence, the resilience, the emotional resilience that I got out of all the work that I put in, that voice doesn't show up anywhere near as often. When he shows up now, I'm giving him a funny look. I'm like, why are you here? Go away. I know who I am. And it doesn't last very long. It goes away. So, but I don't hear that voice anymore. It's a much different, it's a much happier life is what it is.
Yeah. I'm curious, because sometimes we focus on how far we have to go, and sometimes we focus on how far we come. Now you're sitting at, you said day 633 out of 1,000. Are you looking at like, oh my gosh, can I do this math fast enough? 367, there's 367 days left to go? Or
it's a year. One more year.
Yeah. Or is it like, damn, look at that. I just did 633. Like, where do you focus that mindset?
That's a great question. The thing I was actually thinking about this the other day, and it's like the thought crossed my mind. I said, oh, I'm almost 2/3 of the way done. I didn't think about, oh, I got another year. I'm like, I'm 2/3 of the way done. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You got another year to go? Sure. I can do that. If I can get 2/3 of the way in, I can go another year. And to be honest, I'm thinking about maybe going past 1,000. I'm not ruling that out. Michael Phelps trained for 5 years, 7 days a week straight. Now, he's a lot younger than I am, but I'm not exactly swimming every day and doing all that stuff, but 1,000 days is actually is a little over 3 years. It's almost 3 years.
Yeah.
So can I go another 2? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I'm not sure if I'm that crazy yet.
Well, we're all rooting for you, I'm sure, and I want to see those digits keep changing.
Oh,
Jon, I'm so inspired. I'm like, damn, he's been doing it for 1,000 days straight. This is like what I counsel people on all the time, and I'll be damned, like, I don't know if I can do 1,000 days straight. And now I'm like, well, Danielle, maybe you should challenge yourself to do 1,000 days straight, just for the challenge. But because it's so inspirational, right?
And I will say, not every day is easy. That is the thing. It's never going to be easy every single day. Some days are easier than others, and there are some days I'll get up out of bed. I get up when that alarm goes off, and I will go, maybe I should go back to bed. And but this is after I've gotten out. But the fact is, once I've gotten out, the decision's made. I may feel like it because I didn't sleep well, or maybe I got some allergies going on, or just I'm like, you know what? That's fine. Go to the gym anyway. Dial it back if you need to. You don't have to do full workouts. And you know what's funny is sometimes when I show up, I actually have some of my best workouts when I do that. I actually, like Monday, I got 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and I got to the gym and I was like, I don't have it in me, but I had the best workout that I've had in a long time. And sometimes those are the wins that you don't expect.
Yeah, absolutely. My sons and I, we had a challenge at one point. So when we moved from New York to Texas, we lived in our RV for too long, 9 long months in a tiny little space with 2 adults and 4 kids and the 2 cats. It was gruesome. But at one point we decided that we were going to just do this challenge. We all had a bet. Whoever went the most amount of days, they would have a day that they could, boss everybody else around and do whatever it is that they wanted them to do. Right. And so we went for a while. It ended up being me and my youngest son who was left. And the challenge was that we had to do, I think it was 100 push-ups throughout the course of the day and 100 of something else. So it could have been whatever, squats or sit-ups or leg lifts or whatever else it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And we went for a really long time, but I'll tell you, when life hit me, one of our staff members passed away, and it threw me. And I said, "Hey, you won, buddy. I'm just not up for this today." So it's so admirable that you're like, no matter what life throws at me, I just keep going.
Yeah, you mentioned having that happen. That trip that I just talked to you about a minute ago, that was to Colorado for a funeral for a close relative of my wife's, and I was impacted by that. And yeah, I definitely didn't feel up to doing anything, but I still did it because I knew that my identity said that that's who I am. I don't quit. I don't, for any reason, until I'm in the grave. I'm going to keep being the person that I am, growing every single day. That's every damn day. That's what it's all about.
It's so powerful. It's so unbelievably powerful. Yeah. Yeah. What do you think was that pivotal moment where you realized that, it is every damn day, and that is who you are, right? Because I think a lot of people, even myself, given that story, it wasn't like the identity part of it wasn't strong enough. How did you strengthen that identity part for yourself in order to be here at 633 days?
I want to say it was when I hit the 1 year mark of the first 2 year challenge. And when I hit that, accountability photos to Jeremy. and so he was getting them. And I said, yeah, I've hit a year. He said, great. That's fantastic. You've done well. And I said, yeah, I think I'm going to keep going. He goes, you don't have to. You've done what you need to do. You've done it. And I said, no, I haven't. I still need to prove to myself that I can keep going. And at that point, I had gotten control of my depression. I had a job that was working out really well, and things were going so much better. They were in the best state in a long time that it was just awesome. I knew at that point that every damn day was who I was. And people would see me, my friends would say, "Hey, every damn day, how you doing?" I mean, even at church, somebody would say, "Every damn day." So every now and then they would do that. So I knew that's what I had become. At that point, when I hit the year mark, I knew that I had achieved something that I would not have been able to do before. And ever since then now, it's just been, what else can I do? What else can I do that I wasn't able to do before? And there are things that I will try that I never would have done before that now I will actually do. And Jeremy will ask me to try to do something like he had the idea for the Savage Race. I'm like, okay, but I did it. I was like, okay, I showed up and I did it. I did great. And so every now and then I get this little curveball thrown at me, like, okay, I can do that, and I'll do it.
Jon, tell us a little bit about, so every damn day has now become a movement. What do you want people to get out of this movement? And I want to know what the t-shirts are, by the way.
Yeah, I gotta bring the t-shirts back. That's something I really want to do. But the things that the thing that for me every damn day is about, it's about consistency. And how you don't need to have perfect days. You don't need perfect workouts. You don't need to have the perfect motivation. You just need to show up. The real transformation, it doesn't come from intensity or hype. It's just coming from doing the work, especially when it's hard. And that's where change will happen in your life. And that's where you start winning. And that's the key, is winning. Yeah. We are fueled by success. And it's kind of scary how in this day and age, over the last 10 years, we've seen success is just completely, attacked. You shouldn't be successful. No, success is who we are as a people, as human beings. Right. It's what fuels us to be better parents, to be better employees, or better bosses, managers, leaders. If we're not successful, then we're really destroying ourselves. We're dying. Yeah. It's like they say, if you're not growing every day, you're dying. You're already dead. If you're not trying to win every day and succeed in your life, then you're already dead.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing that strikes me about you and your story too is, I think there's the other thing that's prevalent today is there's a measure, like there's a, we don't push ourselves too hard, but then on the exact flip side of that, which is crazy because they're in conflict, the exact flip side of that is we don't celebrate success unless it's some sort of crazy something. Right? Mm-hmm. Like you're out there posting every day, whether you're doing a walk, but you're not showing, hey, look, I just bench pressed 500 pounds, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's not the success for you. Your success is in the showing up, and you wear that proudly.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I'll go out and I'll tell my kids or tell my wife I had this really small win, and they're kind of like, okay, whatever. But to me, it mattered. It mattered to me. And so if I have that small win, again, it's about, I don't care what other people think. It's all what matters to me. And that's important. What's important to me will help fuel my ability to go and do more things. That consistency and building on that just makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, I love it. Not someone else's standards. It's what it is for you. And it's
exactly
celebrating each of those. We drill this into our clients immensely, right? Like, what's the small win? Mm-hmm. If you can't see the small wins, you can't see the big ones either. And if you can't start seeing the big ones, what happens? People get frustrated and they quit.
I like to celebrate them. Yeah. And then give gratitude for that. Yes. Especially in prayer. For me, gratitude is, there are certain things I always am grateful for every single day when I pray. But then if there's something really special that happened, I'm like, I am grateful this happened in my life because it gave me something to feel good about myself.
Exactly. We need that, right? Gratitude is, honestly, it is the key to so much. If we are not bringing gratitude to the table, we are not going to end up with a life that we love.
And I was probably the most ungrateful person on the planet at age 47 before I even started this. Now I look at things and I'm like, I'm grateful to have the ability and the health to be able to do 1,000 days of fitness. And I haven't had any huge injuries. I hurt my back last year and it slowed me down a little bit, but that's back now. And I've learned a lot about how my body ticks, how it works, and how not to do things that could injure it. and make sure that I'm maintaining that and doing the things that, and I'm grateful to be able to have the intelligence to learn about those things and the opportunities to put them into practice.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Beautiful. Well, tell me, Jon, I always ask every single one of our guests here, if you had to boil it down to three big things, three takeaways, it could be small things, three takeaways that people can take away, actionable things that they can begin doing right now that will make a difference, what would you say those three things are?
Well, we talked about a couple of them. So one, you don't need motivation. You need a decision.
Yes.
You just need to make a decision. So waiting to feel ready will just keep you stuck. So start where you are, even if it's messy. Discipline is built through action and not emotion.
Yes.
So that's the first thing. The second thing I said, consistency is undefeated. That is my absolute favorite thing to say, because it's the small daily efforts that beats the occasional intensity over time, and those wins will stack up, but not because you're perfect, but because you don't quit. It's all about progress, not perfection. So,
yeah.
And then the last one, this one's a big one for me. Keep your promises to yourself. Every time you follow through, you're going to build trust with yourself, and that trust shapes who you become in every area of your life. And integrity is so important, especially with yourself. If you believe in yourself, everything becomes easier. You start trusting other things in your life. But if you can't trust yourself, you can't trust anybody. If you're breaking your own promises to yourself, then you're just setting yourself up for sabotage. You're just sabotaging yourself.
Yeah. I love it. Jon, thank you so much for joining us. I know I am inspired, and I may just jump on a little challenge myself here with you.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Because it is inspiring. And the truth is, when we commit to something and we follow through, we don't know who we are at the other end of that. So
exactly.
Thank you for being here today, for listening to that inner voice that said you need to be here. Thank you for creating this movement. And I just know that there's going to be so many lives impacted by your message and by the movement. And can you just share with everyone? I know it'll be in the show notes, but if someone doesn't see the show notes, how can people learn more about your journey, more about what's happening for you in your life, and the contributions that you're making and the work that you do?
Sure. So they can follow me on Instagram or on TikTok. I'm out there with Every Damn Day Life. That's so go look for that. You can also find me at Jon P. Kirby on Instagram. I'm on Facebook too. I have a YouTube channel, and that is also Every Damn Day. You'll find a lot of the materials are going out there, and I have a lot of older stuff that's out there. That's legacy stuff that has a lot of things that share my story, share the journey that I was going through in the first 2 years. I actually posted a lot about that, so people can go out there and find about that. And now Every Damn Day is actually part of Command Your Life. And so people can actually go to commandyourlife.today, and they'll see both my partner Jeremy and I are both involved in trying to use the aviation principles that he's bringing in. In particular, what he's doing is he's focused on the cockpit. In my stuff, in my mind, what you're doing in the cockpit, you got to learn in ground school, and that's where I come in. So I'm helping you to learn those things to prepare to do the things that he talks about. But yeah, so and then the other thing too, I want to talk about really quick.
Yeah.
We've started a new foundation this year called Raising Great Fathers. It's the Raising Great Fathers Foundation, and that's something that I'm also very dedicated to as well, to help young men, to keep them from having those experiences I had, and to not repeat those things. So that is a very important cause to me, to be able to help young men to become great fathers and to help parents to all, those fathers to be great fathers to their sons as well. So that's also something very important. So you can find it right now. It's raisinggreatfathers.com. We're going to change that over to a foundation.org at some point, but that's another place you can find us as well.
Yeah. And my boys are in the Raising Great Fathers program because it is extraordinary. And these messages that we talk about here, bringing these messages to our young people is pivotal. So yeah, I encourage everyone to check that out as well. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for everyone who's here. And we look forward to having you join us for the next episode. This is Dr. D reminding you to tune into your body, connect with what matters, and embrace the journey to true wellness. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to redefine their health. Be sure to grab a copy of the True Wellness Checklist right in the show notes. Let's keep redefining wellness and empowering change together. See you for the next episode.